pleasure to be here this evening in Dubai. My name is Jim Carroll, and I'm a futurist. Maybe the very first thing that we need to think about when it comes to the future is to appreciate it's probably going to happen faster than we think, because we live in the era of acceleration. We live in a period of time in which everything is speeding up. And what we thought was far away, what we thought was science fiction in the distant future, is actually becoming a part of our life today. We live in an era in which the stuff that we thought was science fiction is all of a sudden becoming a part of our world today. We live in the era of acceleration. If you think about what is happening, if you think about the speed of change, if you think about all of these trends which are encompassing us, increasingly the most important issue going forward, we can't succeed based on what we've done in the past. Our success comes from our speed. Our success comes from our ability to ingest fast-paced change. The future belongs to those who are fast. It is your ability to ingest all of these fast-paced trends and turn them into opportunity that will define your success. And people tend to overestimate how much change will occur on a 2-year basis. They underestimate how much change will occur on a 10-year basis, because we are going to witness more change in the next 10 years than we have even seen in the last 100. We now live in a period of time in which companies that do not yet exist will build products not yet conceived, utilizing materials not yet in existence, with manufacturing methodologies that we have barely even dreamt about. Are you ready for the world of disruption? Are you ready for a world in which the inconceivable is suddenly going to become a part of our life? Change your future before it changes you. And recognize it's going to happen faster than you think. Thank you very much. Enjoy your conference. Futurist Jim Carroll from the virtual home broadcast studio. What are you doing right now to change your life for the future, to change your business model, to align your organization to the disruptive trends that are swirling around you? Look, I've had a remarkable 25-year career so far, really living under the stage lights, flying around the world, speaking to organizations about all the disruptive trends which are changing and challenging their industries. And I'm doing this obviously from my home broadcast studio, this massive green screen studio setup, which lets me continue to assist my global clients in aligning to the reality of what comes next in a world in which surely the future belongs to those who are fast. Look, the interesting thing is over that 25-year time span, more and more of my events were beginning to occur at a very senior leadership level, where there was some big substantive issue that was on the table, and the CEO or senior management team needed to make sure that their global team was aligned to the reality of the disruptive trends which were occurring around them. So they would establish a corporate offsite, take their entire global team together somewhere for 2 or 3 days, to talk about that issue, align to the issue, and figure out a strategy. Often they would find me and they would bring me in to deal with the reality of that issue and put together a keynote that would really get them thinking about the scope of change occurring in the world. Then, of course, the global pandemic and COVID-19 hit and everything began to change. And we're all living in a new and different world. And for the last 6 or 7 months, obviously, many organizations have been focused on survival. They've been focused on what do we need to do to quickly change and accelerate our strategies to deal with the reality of what is occurring. But that means that they haven't stopped thinking about the disruptive trends. And here's something I've realized in the last week or so. Through those 25 years, I've spent a lot of time on very unique leadership issues. Every single keynote that I have done for some type of global leader has involved some unique disruptive topic, some unique issue, some very unique strategy issue that the CEO or other leader wanted to bring me in for to set the table to get people thinking about those issues. And I've realized what I've accumulated are some very powerful lessons on leadership. And I'm continually working in the virtual broadcast studio here to go live, to share my insight, because with an increasing number of virtual keynote events, the only way to get good at doing live presentations is to continue doing live presentations where you're checking all the gear, you're checking your stage performance in a small studio space, you're learning how to interact. So I've realized by sharing these lessons in leadership in the coming weeks, the coming months, I've got a powerful tool by which not only can I share my insight with you, but I can accelerate my skills and capabilities in this broadcast studio. Look, I've spent a lot of time on a lot of stages covering a lot of very unique stuff. And some of these stages have been absolutely remarkable, but with those are actually worried about, what are they thinking about? What are the issues that are on the table? When I go through my client list, it is truly staggering to see the number of organizations that have been struggling with the issue of speed, agility, flexibility, disruptive trends. Now, I'm all in for virtual. I've doubled down on my investment in my virtual broadcast studio. I keep expanding the infrastructure. I keep expanding the technology. I've aligned my website to the reality that I am probably in this space for a number of years to come, because we're not going back to our previous world anytime soon. And so here's a live view of what I've got currently in terms of the infrastructure and in terms of the capabilities. And this is just me. But the important issue that I want to get into here is, what are these key leadership issues that I'm going to be covering in the weeks and months to come? Well, they all revolve around the issue of speed. Somehow, the CEOs and senior leaders who have found me to speak at a global event have focused on the message found in many of my books over the last several years. The future belongs to those who are fast. Ready, set, done. What do innovative organizations do? The most recent one, Think Big, Start Small, Scale Fast, and a really quirky little book that I wrote way back in 2004, What I Learned from Frogs in Texas. All of these books and my entire premise is built around the concept that we are living through one of the most dramatic, fastest periods of time of change to have ever occurred. And it's our ability to align to the reality of the trends which will really define our success. So let's talk about some of these unique issues that I'm going to be covering in the weeks and months to come. Look, NASA has had me in twice, and one of the events for which they had me in, and which I will cover in my very first show in the next day or two, revolves around the concept of transformational leadership. What do we do as a leadership team when the entire premise and all of the assumptions that define our business model are dramatically changed? Disney had me in a number of years ago to talk about the concept of upside down innovation. How do we align to a reality in which increasingly the customers are defining the future of our business, and we need to completely change our innovation engine? I'm going to cover that. I'm going to talk about the world of interactive sports and how do we try to grow one of the world's largest active sports through innovative thinking by aligning to the reality of what is occurring with the next generation. That's where the PGA of America, the world's largest professional golfing association, has actually brought me in twice to talk about the issue of interactive sports. I will share with you the perspective that Volvo Mack Trucks had me in for twice. What do we do to align our business model to what we call the uptime opportunity, given the reality that we are no longer selling a truck, but we are really selling a service level uptime guarantee on wheels, and we need to align our entire strategic thinking to that reality. Baker McKenzie, one of the world's largest legal firms, had me in for 2 sessions for the chief legal risk officers of a massive number of Fortune 500 companies to talk about the future of risk. What new legal risk issues are emerging in our world, and what do we need to do to align to it? These are examples of the very unique issues which I've covered on stage for some fascinating organizations. The BBC had me in twice to talk about the reality of the disruptive change occurring with the broadcast business model and what they need to do to align to that. Siemens had me in for a talk on how they could shift the entire focus of their industry from a previous focus on oil and gas to a focus on renewables and a smart grid, smart energy. Nikon had me into Tokyo to talk about the fact that patients are changing in the optometric sector, and what do we do in that particular industry to align the reality that it's the patients who are really defining the future of our industry. Godiva Chocolates had me into London, England to talk about the reality of what happens when we go into a world in which there is faster food fashion with new influencers driving consumer demand and consumer choice, and how do we align the reality of our innovation engine to deal with that. These are all powerful lessons in leadership insight that I'm going to share with you. Automotive acceleration, Mercedes-Benz having me in to talk about what is occurring in terms of the reality of the focus on electric battery technology, self-driving vehicles, and how do we challenge our R&D thinking in order that we can get there faster than we might be able to with our previous structure. Yum Brands, which is KFC, Pizza Hut, Taco Bell, they had me in a number of years ago to talk about the new influencers and what do we do in the era of social media when so much of our brand image is shaped by what individuals are doing out on social media networks. SAP brought me in for a talk to key customers on the concept of agile leadership. A change is happening so fast. What do we do so that we're not a slow-moving turtle, but we are an agile organization that can deal with the reality of the speed occurring around us? New York Life had me in for a talk on personalized insurance. What do we do to align to the reality that increasingly we won't underwrite insurance policies based upon specific large-scale risk assessments covering an entire focus of the population, but we will underwrite insurance policies on a policy of one based on the particular unique circumstances of one individual fed by sensor information in our world of the Internet of Things. And another organization, ASSA Abloy, had me in for a talk about additive manufacturing. How do we align the reality of our manufacturing future based upon the acceleration of 3D printing technology? These are all the unique issues which I've covered in so many forums. And just last year, I was brought over to Paris for a senior leadership meeting of Pfizer to talk about the world of accelerated pharmaceutical, medical, and healthcare science. And now look at where we are with the world of COVID-19, and we are witnessing the reality. The interesting thing is, that's but one industry. If you look at the world of healthcare, I have talked to dozens of global healthcare organizations about the reality of the evolution of healthcare trends. Every single one of these talks has involved a unique topic, a unique focus, and unique leadership issues, which I will share with you in the weeks to come. And that's why I've adopted the tagline, Notable Keynotes, Lessons on Leadership. I want you to stay tuned to my social media channels. I'll be out on Twitter, I'll be out on Facebook, I will be out on LinkedIn sharing this insight because there are very powerful lessons. You'll also be able to find this on my website. Every single time I go live, I'll post the summary video later on to my site, jimcarroll.com. And it's all going to be happening right here in the virtual home broadcast studio with a lot of really cool infrastructure by which I continue to accelerate my capabilities to bring my insight to the world. It's all happening right here with this sophisticated setup with a lot of really cool gear and a lot of really fun technology to do this show and bring it to you. So stay tuned, send me your thoughts, send me your questions. Visit me online, virtual.jimcarroll.com. And we're looking forward to seeing you online.